Hi there! In this video I will show you how to create and use object registers in SoftComply Risk Manager Plus app. Object registers are reusable repositories for information such as assets, controls, hazards and harms. They help your organization to maintain consistent data and link it directly to relevant risks. In this example, we'll create an asset register and connect an asset to a risk. Should your assets be described in Jira Assets already, that's okay. You can use Jira Assets also inside the Risk Manager Plus app. You can then use object registers for other risk or asset related data, perhaps controls from 27001. In the Risk Manager Plus, in the risk table view where you create your risk registers, you can add assets from the object register that we have already created. But let's start from the beginning. So when you go to Jira and you open the Risk Manager Plus app, you can go to Object Registers and you will find a set of object register templates already available, and they are all global object registers in your Jira instance. If you want to create a new one, you can do so by creating a new object register, or you can tailor an already existing set of objects in any of the templated object registers that are in the app already. For example, you have the full list of 27001 controls here that you can use easily and link your risks to controls in the risk table or in the work item view. But let's start with creating a new object register here. So click Create Object Register and enter clear name. So we say Our Assets. If required, you can add a description, assign an owner, and specify who can maintain the register's data. By default, you always have to have key and title for every asset, but you can add different additional fields here. You can add an owner, a user picker field, but you can name it asset owner. You can also have a review date when you need to review. You can also have linked objects and you can call it related assets. You can also choose which details users will see when selecting an object in the risk table. Usually a clear title and one distinguishing value are sufficient. So in here, it is the title of the asset that is visible in the table. If you need to have more information visible in the assets column in the risk table, you can add more here. Now that the data structure is there, we can open the data view of the asset library and start adding new objects here. So let's add new value, customer database, and it's AWS production environment, for example, maybe laptops, and so on. You can then complete additional details here. You can also add owners. Of course, you want to add more data here, but let's say it's ready. If we are doing asset-based risk assessment or our information security risk assessment, I am adding affected assets to my risk table. So I go to my risk tables and I add object register column called affected asset, for example, into this table. So for that, I'm just going to add a new column. We learned how to do that in the last video, and in here we'll find our assets library here, and I'm going to call this affected asset. So this is from my newly created object register. Just to be sure that the space is also linked to that object register, I'm going to check the space settings in Jira. So I'm going to link our assets object register also to this project. So now I go back to the project, to the risk table view, and I can now see this particular column affected asset here, and I can add the assets that we have already created and added in our object register. And this is how you can create object registers and add them into your risk registers. This particular asset is now linked to the risk in this table, eliminating the need to repeatedly enter the same asset information. We go to the app. You go to our object register was called Our Assets, and in here, in the laptops, we can see the linked work item that we connected to this particular asset. This provides a central view of the asset's risk exposure and helps identify objects that have not yet been assessed. Your object register is now ready to use. They improve consistency, reuse, and traceability across your risk management process. In the next video, we will also show you how you can create a full traceability between your assets and risks and control, so that you know that you have covered all your assets with risks and the risks themselves with controls. But this for the next session. Thank you so much for listening, and bye-bye.